Welcome to the shadow. Most people navigate life as NPCs, reacting to stimuli, chasing dopamine, and fleeing from discomfort. But a hidden percentage of the population operates on a different frequency. They don't react, they orchestrate. They don't ask, they imply. They don't fight, they dismantle. Today, we strip away the veneer of polite society. We are entering the basement of human behavior to examine the gears, the grease, and the cold steel of dark psychology. This is not for the faint of heart. This is for those who are tired of being the prey. This is for the ones who want to see the strings. Chapter 1. The Vacuum of Silence. In the world of the amateur, communication is about words. In the world of the master, communication is about the space between those words. Most people are terrified of silence. In a social setting, silence feels like failure. It feels heavy, awkward, and exposing. When a conversation dies, the average person scrambles to revive it. They babble, they joke, or they reveal secrets they should have kept hidden, all just to kill the silence. The dark psychologist knows that silence is not a void. It is a vacuum, and a vacuum by physical law must be filled. When you ask a question and receive a shallow answer, do not follow up. Do not argue. Simply maintain steady, unblinking eye contact and remain perfectly still. Your silence acts as a mirror. The other person begins to wonder, why aren't they responding? Do they know I'm lying? Did I say something foolish? Under the weight of that silence, their ego collapses. They start talking to justify themselves. This is where the truth leaks out. By doing nothing, you have gained everything. Chapter 2. The Ben Franklin Paradox. Conventional wisdom suggests that if you want someone to like you, you should do something nice for them. This is a psychological failure. When you do a favor for someone, they feel a sense of debt. Humans, instinctively, dislike being in debt. Dark psychology utilizes the Ben Franklin effect. We don't do favors for people we like. We like people because we do favors for them. If you want to infiltrate someone's circle, do not offer them a gift. Instead, ask them for a small, insignificant favor. Ask to borrow a book, or ask for their specific advice on a trivial matter. By performing this small act, their subconscious mind recategorizes you from a stranger to a friend. You have forced their own brain to convince them that you are worth their time. Chapter 3. The Love Bomb and the Cold Withdrawal. This is the most lethal weapon in the manipulator's arsenal. It is the cycle of addiction applied to human relationships. Every human has a hunger for validation. We all want to feel special and chosen. The love bomb is the process of flooding a target with an overwhelming amount of attention and praise. You become their primary source of dopamine. You become their entire world. Then, once the dependency is solidified, you execute the cold withdrawal. For no apparent reason, you become distant. You take hours to reply. Your tone becomes clinical. The target's brain goes into a state of chemical withdrawal. They panic. They begin to obsess over what they did wrong. They will do anything to win back your approval. You are no longer their partner. You are their dealer, and they are the addict. Chapter 4. Gaslighting and the erosion of reality. Gaslighting is the systematic deconstruction of a person's faith in their own senses. The goal is to make the target dependent on the manipulator for their version of reality. It starts with small, trivial things. You deny saying something you clearly said, but you do it with such calm conviction that they begin to question their own memory. Over time, the target stops trusting their gut. Once a person believes they cannot trust their own mind, they look for someone else to lead them. They become a vessel, ready to be filled with whatever reality the manipulator chooses. Chapter 5. The projection of authority. Human beings are hardwired for hierarchy. We look for cues that tell us who is in charge so we know how to behave. But authority is often a mask. You don't need a crown to be a king. You just need to act like one. People respond to signals of competence more than actual ability. How you stand, the depth of your voice, and the way you occupy space are the true indicators of power. If you speak with total certainty even when you are wrong, people will follow you. Doubt is a scent, and the crowd can smell it. Chapter 6. Cold reading and the Barnum effect. To control a person, you must first map their mind. Everyone believes they are a unique, misunderstood protagonist. The Barnum effect is a phenomenon where individuals believe that vague personality descriptions apply specifically to them. If you say to someone, "I can tell that underneath your confident exterior, you actually struggle with self-doubt," they will think you are psychic. Why? Because everyone feels that way. By using these universal truths, you create an illusion of deep empathy, making the target believe you are the only one who truly sees them. Chapter 7. The Dark Triad to Master Human Behavior. You must study the 3 traits that dominate the shadow: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. A narcissist requires admiration. A Machiavellian requires control. A psychopath requires stimulation. What they all share is a total lack of empathy. To them, you are not a person. You are a tool. The Machiavellian mindset is the most effective for power. It is the belief that the ends justify the means. They don't get angry. They get even. They view every interaction as a game of chess where the pieces are emotions. Chapter 8. Intermittent reinforcement. Do people stay in toxic situations? The answer is intermittent reinforcement. If you reward someone every time they do something, it becomes a routine. But if you reward them randomly, they become obsessed. In human psychology, consistency is the enemy of desire. If you are always available, you become a commodity. By being intensely warm one day and inexplicably cold the next, you trigger a dopamine storm in the other person's brain. To make someone obsessed, you must become unpredictable. Chapter 9. The Scarcity Principle. Human brain is not wired to seek gain. It is wired to avoid loss. We value what is rare and crave what is disappearing. Dark psychology uses the artificial scarcity of oneself. If you want to increase your value, you must decrease your supply. People who are always around have no value. When you make yourself scarce, you trigger the lizard brain of the other person. The moment someone fears losing your presence, they will pay any price to keep it. Chapter 10. Mirroring and Subconscious Trust. We are biologically programmed to trust those who resemble us. Mirroring is not just about physical gestures. It is about rhythm. You must mirror their breathing, their blinking rate, and their vocabulary. If they use visual words, you respond with visual words. Once you have synced your rhythm to theirs, you have bypassed their logical brain. They will feel an unexplained trust toward you. At this point, you stop mirroring and start leading. If they follow your movements, you own their nervous system. Chapter 11. The Shadow Self. Every human has a shadow, the part of themselves they hide from the world. Their greed, their vanity, and their secret desires. The master of behavior doesn't judge the shadow. He feeds it. Most people are exhausted by the mask of being good. When you subtly signal that you understand their dark side without judgment, you become their greatest confidant. Once you know a person's shadow, you have the ultimate leverage. Chapter 12. Social engineering. Social engineering is the art of getting people to do what they shouldn't by using who they are. To do this, you must master the pretext. If you walk up to someone with perfect confidence, they stay on guard. But if you ask for help while showing a minor flaw, their guard drops. Humans are hardwired to help the slightly vulnerable. While they enjoy that feeling of superiority, you are extracting the information you need. Chapter 13. The triangulation method. A straight line between two people is easy to manage, but a triangle is a cage. Triangulation is the art of bringing a third party into a dynamic to create competition and insecurity. By mentioning how impressed you are with someone else in front of your target, you trigger a primal fear of being replaced. Suddenly, the target is focused on winning you back, making you the ultimate prize. Chapter 14. The halo effect. Human brain uses mental shortcuts to make quick judgments. The halo effect is a bias where our overall impression of a person influences how we feel about their specific traits. If you are well-dressed and project prestige, people assume you are intelligent and trustworthy. They will overlook your flaws and justify your mistakes, all because their brain refuses to break the halo it has placed over you. Chapter 15. Neuro-Linguistic Anchoring. Anchor is a trigger that connects a stimulus to an emotional state. When you notice someone is in a state of intense laughter or comfort, you perform a specific, subtle action like touching their elbow. By repeating this every time they feel that high emotion, you wire the two together. Eventually, You can trigger that feeling of comfort on command simply by repeating the touch. Chapter 16. Plausible deniability. Direct orders provoke resistance. Instead of telling someone what to do, you must plant a seed and let them water it. This is the art of indirect suggestion. Tell a story about someone else making a choice and let the target draw the parallel. When they finally take action, you remain blameless. You never told them to do it. You simply provided the map. Chapter 17. The contrast. Principally, human perception is relative. We don't know if something is big unless we have something small to compare it to. If you want a yes, start by asking for something outrageous that you know they will refuse. When they say no, they feel a surge of guilt. Then you compromise by asking for what you actually wanted. The contrast makes your second request feel like a relief. Chapter 18. The power of because. The word because is a hypnotic command. The human brain is trained to stop thinking once it hears a reason. When you want someone to accept a premise, always attach a because to it. It doesn't have to be a logical reason. It just has to be a structural one. By providing a why, you give their conscious mind a bone to chew on while your true intent slips into their subconscious. Chapter 19. The sunk cost fallacy in the world of logic. We should abandon any path that no longer serves us. But the human brain is not logical. It is emotional. The sunk cost fallacy is the psychological trap that forces a person to continue an action because they have already invested resources into it: time, money, or emotion. The master of behavior uses this by leading the target into small, incremental investments. Once a person has spent 6 months trying to fix a relationship or a project you've orchestrated, they cannot leave. To leave would be to admit that their past 6 months were a waste. They will double down on their loyalty to you, not out of love, but out of a desperate need to justify their own past investment. Chapter 20. The chosen one. Complex. Every person harbors a secret desire to be special, to be the exception to the rule. Dark psychology exploits this through a technique called the chosen one complex. You pull the target aside and speak to them as if they are the only person who understands the gravity of a situation. I shouldn't be telling you this, but I feel like you're the only one here with the vision to grasp it. By elevating them above the common crowd, you create a powerful bond of exclusivity. They will protect you and your interests because, in doing so, they are protecting their own status as the chosen one. You are not just a friend. You are the mirror that reflects their greatness back at them. Chapter 21. The Karpman drama triangle. Human conflict usually revolves around 3 roles: the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. Most people are stuck in this triangle, constantly rotating roles. The master of the shadow stays outside the triangle, but controls the movement within it. If you want to control 2 people, make one of them feel like a victim and position yourself as the rescuer against the other, the persecutor. By shifting these roles, you create emotional chaos. As the rescuer, you gain total trust. As the one who defines the villain, you control the target's anger. He who defines the enemy defines the war. Chapter 22. Covert sensitization is the art of associating an idea you want to destroy with a feeling of disgust. If you want a target to turn away from a rival or a specific habit, you don't argue against it. Instead, you constantly mention that rival in the same breath as something repulsive or morally degrading. Over time, through classical conditioning, the target's brain will link the person to the negative emotion. They won't know why they suddenly feel uneasy around your rival. They will just know that their gut is telling them to stay away. You have successfully poisoned the well without ever touching the water. Chapter 23. The isolation protocol is strongest when the target has no external frame of reference. This is why cults and high-control manipulators use isolation. It doesn't have to be physical isolation. It is intellectual isolation. You begin by subtly criticizing the target's support system. You point out the hidden motives of their friends or the jealousy of their family. You make yourself the only safe source of truth. When a person is isolated from dissenting opinions, your voice becomes the only voice in their head. You become their reality. Chapter 24. The Zygarnik effect. Human brain hates unfinished tasks. It will remember an interrupted story far better than one that was completed. This is the Zeigarnik effect. In conversation, the master of influence uses open loops. Start a story, reach the climax, and then change the subject. Or hint at a massive secret, and then say, actually, it's better if I don't tell you yet. This creates a psychological itch that the target must scratch. They will think about you long after the conversation has ended, simply because their brain is trying to close the loop you left open. You are renting space in their mind for free. Chapter 25. The false dilemma. Black and white fallacy. Control is often about limiting options. The false dilemma is a technique where you present two choices as the only possibilities. Even though many others exist, you can either stay in this dead-end job and suffer, or you can take this risk with me. By framing the world in black and white, you eliminate the target's ability to think critically. They feel forced to choose, and because one option is intentionally designed to be repulsive, they will naturally fly into the choice you have prepared for them. Chapter 26. The pratfall effect. Vulnerability as a weapon. Perfect people are intimidating and untrustworthy. If you appear too polished, people will subconsciously wait for the catch. The pratfall effect states that high-status individuals become more likable and trustworthy when they commit a small, humanizing mistake. A master manipulator will intentionally reveal a minor flaw or admit to a small embarrassment. This tactical vulnerability makes the target feel safe. It makes them believe they have seen the real you, which makes them even more susceptible to your next major move. Chapter 27. Shaming and the social rejection threat. Fear of being cast out of the tribe is the oldest fear in the human psyche. We will do almost anything to avoid social shame. Dark psychology uses micro-shaming, small, subtle comments about a person's choices or behavior that trigger their exclusion anxiety. By making someone feel slightly out of step with the group, you make them desperate to conform. And who do they look to for the rules of conformity? The person who triggered the shame in the first place, you. Chapter 28. The illusory truth effect. If you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. This is a biological failure of the brain. We mistake familiarity for accuracy. The master of behavior doesn't need to prove his points with logic. He simply repeats his premises with unwavering confidence in every conversation. Eventually, the target stops questioning the statement and begins to accept it as a foundational truth. Repetition is the simplest form of hypnosis. Chapter 29. Cognitive overload. When the conscious mind is overwhelmed with information, it shuts down and the subconscious takes over. This is cognitive overload. By speaking quickly, using complex jargon, or creating a high-stress environment, you bypass the target's critical factor. While they are struggling to process the surface-level information, you slip in subliminal commands. Their brain is too tired to argue, so it simply accepts the command to keep moving forward. Chapter 30. The final synthesis. Becoming the observer. I have explored the darkest corners of the human architecture. You now hold the keys to the invisible prison. But with this knowledge comes a choice. You can remain a puppet, or you can become the architect. The most powerful person in any room is the one who needs nothing from anyone. They observe, they analyze, and they act with surgical precision. They are not ruled by their emotions. They use emotions as fuel for their goals. Remember, every interaction is a trade. Every word is a seed. Every silence is a weapon. The world is a stage, and most people are merely actors who have forgotten they are reading a script. But you have seen the strings. You have entered the shadow. And once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. Welcome to MINDVORN. Keep observing. The game has just begun.